Okay, I think the waiting room is empty. Everyone has joined, which is great. Great to see everyone. Allison, do you think we're ready?
Yes, I think we're ready.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. My name is Suzanne Rupp. I'm the executive director of Pi Gamma Mu. I've talked to many of you many times. I see some new faces here as well. So welcome today and thank you for joining our inaugural speaker series. And I'd like to give a special thanks to Allison Knox, who has spent a lot of time arranging this program, getting speakers set up, and for all of her hard work. So thanks, Allison. And to our speakers today, our very first speakers in the new series, Dr. Susan Kinsella, Dr. Nancy Wood, and Dr. Rhonda Waddell. Now I'd like to take, and Allison will introduce our speakers in a little more detail in a few minutes after I speak to you a little bit about the benefits of membership of Pi Gamma Mu. So bear with me and I'm going to share my screen here. Little technical difficulties, just a moment. Okay. Okay, we did it. Thanks for your patience. Pi Gamma Mu was founded in 1924, so we are about to celebrate our 100th anniversary soon. And that makes us the oldest and preeminent interdisciplinary social science honor society in the country. In 1924, Dr. Leroy Allen, who was the head of the economics department at Southwestern College in Winfield, Kansas, where our headquarters are located to this day, met with his students, and they decided that an honor society should be started. Each student donated 25 cents to start a project through the mail, and soon they were on their way. Dr. Allen and his students spent that summer of 1924 working hard to get the Honor Society established, and he was assisted by 8 faculty members from other institutions, particularly Dean William A. Hamilton of the College of William and Mary in Virginia. And by the fall of that year, 17 colleges and universities had chartered their chapters. Pi Gamma Mu's multidisciplinary approach really allows students and faculty from colleges of various disciplines and from different colleges and universities to work together and learn from each other. And this is a real benefit of Pi Gamma Mu. We have been a member of the Association of College Honor Societies since 1953. And the ACHS is the only certifying agencies for honor societies in the country. Checking to see if an honor society is a member is a sure way to know that that honor society meets rigorous standards and provides real benefits to its members. We're also affiliated with the American Association for the Advancement of Science, whose mission it is to advance the sciences and to serve society. We have an impressive list of prominent members. Here are just a few. Many more. Our journal is called the International Social Science Review. It's published online 4 times a year, and it is open access to the public, so you don't need a subscription. And each issue contains peer-reviewed articles, peer reviews of articles, book reviews, as well as commentaries, Pi Gamma Mu news, and more. Our board of trustees includes not only faculty from around the country, but 2 students. These 2 student representatives are elected at each of our triennial international conventions, and they represent the student members of the society. Chapters also represent opportunities for students to run for office, and both of these are good opportunities for students' personal and professional growth. Our upcoming triennial international convention in 2024 will be held on Friday, November 1st through Sunday, the 3rd of 2024 in Philadelphia. Events will include student research paper presentations, student and chapter poster presentations, an event celebrating our 100th year, student elections to the Board of Trustees, the very popular leadership development program. Space is limited for that, so be sure to register early. We will have keynote speakers, roundtable discussions, and much more. So mark your calendars. We do have a great scholarship program. Pi Gamma Mu members are the only individuals eligible to apply. Scholarships are intended for the 1st or 2nd year of graduate work. And the annual deadline is February 15th. So now is a really great time to start working on your application. Our membership in the Association of College Honor Societies makes our members eligible for these partner scholarships listed here. More information can be found on our website or the ACHS website. There are federal benefits of membership. One tangible benefit of joining Pi Gamma Mu is the potential for increased pay in federal jobs. The U.S. Office of Personnel Management states that membership in a national honor society meets one of the requirements for entrance at the GS7 level in numerous occupations in the federal service. This can translate into thousands of dollars in increased pay per year. We do have some great merchandise available for sale on our website. And we are on a variety of social media outlets. And this is my contact information. I'm available for questions anytime. And so, Allison, I will hand this back to you.
Thanks so much, Suzanne.
Good.
We have a number of Pi Gamma Mu board members on our call today, so I'd like to just take a minute to introduce them. And after I say your name, if you could just say hello and wave, so then it'll flash with your name and your face on the screen. So first we have Dr. Charles Hartwig, Chancellor of the Southwest Region of Pi Gamma Mu, and Professor Emeritus of Arkansas State University. Charles,
Hello.
Thank you, Charles.
Hello.
And we have Dr. Larry Heck, past president of Pi Gamma Mu and the chapter sponsor of Kansas Theta chapter at Newman University. And we have Catherine Im, first vice president of Pi Gamma Mu and the chapter sponsor of Maryland Theta chapter at the University of Maryland Global Campus.
Hi, everyone.
We have Dr. Gordon Mercer, past president of Pi Gamma Mu and chapter sponsor of the North Carolina Lambda chapter at Western Carolina University.
Hello.
We have Dr. Brad Tennant, Chancellor of the Northwest Region of Pi Gamma Mu and the chapter sponsor of South Dakota Zeta chapter at Presentation College.
Hello.
Thank you, everyone. Today, we proudly present the inaugural election of the Pi Gamma Mu Speaker Series. We are excited to have three esteemed faculty from St. Leo University who will be speaking today about the research surrounding animal-assisted interventions. The Florida Lambda chapter at St. University is also a recipient of the 2022 Role of Distinction and has won this award 5 times. Our speakers today have an amazing background in social services. Dr. Nancy Wood is the director of the Master of Science Human Services Administration program at St. Leo University and holds a PhD in human services. She has co-authored and edited books on nonprofit marketing, interdisciplinary animal approaches, and mental health advocacy. Having presented at national and international conferences, Dr. Wood has published numerous peer-reviewed journal articles, book chapters, and design courses on topics ranging from online pedagogy, interdisciplinary learning, animal studies, nonprofit marketing, leadership, mental health advocacy, grant writing, social justice, and social entrepreneurship. Nancy, could you say hello and wave?
Hi, everyone.
We have Dr. Waddell is the interim dean and professor in social work at St. Leo University's College of Education and Social Services. She received the bachelor's degree from the University of Florida in sociology, the master's and doctorate degrees in social work from Florida State University. Her research interests include interdisciplinary collaboration on social justice topics such as community health, humane education, and human bond. She enjoys her human family and shared an animal retirement sanctuary with 50 plus fur friends. Rhonda, could you say hello and wave?
Hello.
We also have Dr. Susan Kinsella, social work scholar and former dean of the College of Education and Social Services at St. Leo University. Currently a professor in the online graduate human services administration program, Dr. Kinsella's lecture will focus on animal-assisted interventions, a new bachelor's degree program at St. Leo University, which was one of her initiatives as dean. Dr. Kinsella is also president of Pi Gamma Mu International Honor Society in Social Sciences. Dr. Kinsella will discuss what we understand about these interventions and how they can be used to help people and communities. With that, Susan, I am passing the floor to you.
Okay, thank you, Allison. I'm going to share screen and hopefully you can hear me because I'm getting a message that says my internet is unstable. So let's see what happens here. So first of all, thank you all for coming. Welcome. We're quite excited at St. Leo about this new program. I am Sue Kinsella. I've been around in higher ed for 35 years or more. So I'm quite excited about all of the things that we've been doing at St. Leo University. I've been at St. Leo for the past 12 years. I've taught at many schools on the East Coast before that, but I was appointed as Dean of our College of Education and Social Services back in 2016. And that's really when we started this endeavor to look at animal-assisted interventions. At that time, Rhonda was my associate dean. She's now our interim dean. And I had worked with Nancy several years before that in human services. At the current time, I am on a sabbatical, and I will return to teaching in the graduate program in human services in January. So I'm excited about that opportunity as well. Before I retired, I actually wanted to have the opportunity to work with the students one more time. So that's where we are today. Let's see if I can get this to move forward. Okay, so how it all began was back in 2016. I moved from our Savannah campus to our Florida campus to become the college dean for education and social services. So there were many faculty in our college that I didn't know at that point. And as I was getting to know them, I was really struck by the fact that so many of them were doing research with animals in their particular discipline. And they all had some sort of an underlying scholarly pursuit of research in this area. We've had criminal justice faculty that had various backgrounds, such as a retired Federal Bureau of Investigation special agent who participated in an evidence response team using animals, and an AKC CGC trick dog freestyle certified and therapy dog observer who also had her own obedience agility training facility. She was also in criminal justice. We had a retired mounted police officer who had trained, shown, and breed both horses and dogs for over 40 years. We had an educator who was an equine specialist who maintained a ranch with horses. And we also learned from her that children that had physical disabilities or also had or neurological disabilities as well benefited from horse riding by developing their core muscles. So we also had several licensed clinical social workers who were therapy dog handlers and who had really worked in their practice with these dogs. So I just found it very interesting. And also my associate dean at that time worked at a major university before coming to St. Leo as a veterinary technician in the shelter medicine program. And she helped to create a community mental health program for families that serve both humans and animals. So as I learned more about these amazing faculty, I really found that like not only were they working with children, adults, the elderly, and veterans who experienced medical, behavioral, or mental health issues, but they were also working in all of these different settings, whether it was hospitals, hospice programs, police departments, but they were working in a variety of settings with animals. So it really became my quest then to start to do some interdisciplinary work and to try to get people to work across their disciplines. Because I would say to faculty, well, you're doing such interesting research here in criminal justice. You must know this faculty member in social work that's doing something similar. And they say, no, I don't know that person. They're in a different discipline. Well, you certainly must know the person in education that's working with equine therapy. No, I don't know them either. So I found we had undergraduate and graduate programs in human services, criminal justice, education, social work, and 2 doctoral programs in criminal justice and education. So I really felt that it was important for people to get to know one another and to really find out what other people were doing, what the research was they were doing with animals, so that we could really begin to look at work that we might be able to do together. Because I really felt that as the dean of our college, we would be stronger working together than we were just working in our own disciplines. So I created a Dean's Forum to discuss college issues and needs, looked at this committee. Representatives from different programs came together to look at different needs and issues the college had, and particularly that idea of interdisciplinarity. And the faculty were really very interested in this, and the beginning of a new course that we called Interdisciplinary Approaches, Services and Therapy, Animals. And that course was really the beginning for us of an elective course for all students at the university. It gave students an opportunity to see how you could use animals in all of these different types of settings. But again, as with anything new, we did have our barriers and challenges, and I wanted to present some of this history to you today, and then I'll turn it over to Rhonda and Nancy, who actually developed the courses and taught in the program, and they can give you their experience of working with the students and all the exciting things that they've done with the program. But in the beginning, there were challenges because we did not, first of all, have team teaching. And I felt like that was really very important. If we were going to do this interdisciplinary work, I felt like this interdisciplinary course should have a number of faculty that could teach from their area of expertise. So the students would learn, how to use animals in a criminal justice setting, or how to use therapy dogs if they were in a counseling type setting in human services or social work, or what could you do with equine therapy and education. And so first of all, we had to look at changes in our policies and procedures at the university. And there were also a number of other barriers. For instance, I had administrators, staff, and faculty who would come to me and say, what's that circus thing that you're doing over in your college? People didn't quite understand what we were trying to do with the animals. And so, it really took a lot of education on our part and really trying to make people aware of the benefit of animals and how they could be used in these different therapeutic settings that we had. And of course, in our college, we were the college that had all the internship and we're doing all of the practical work as well. So we did have a lot of work to do. There were also a lot of barriers in the beginning with the students, because the students didn't quite understand how you could take a course as an elective and what could you do with this course with animals. So in the beginning, we had not too many students that were interested. So we would have to take the animals and the handlers right out into the campus so that the students would begin to see, well, okay, what is a therapeutic course look like? What are these dog handlers doing with these dogs? And so then the students started to become very interested, and they could see, I could take this course as an elective. Oh, this would be quite interesting. So then the course became very very popular. And we started doing more work with this interdisciplinary elective. And then, of course, faculty got very interested and very involved in this. And they said, well, now we've got this really popular course, we need to do more with it. So let's look at doing a bachelor's degree program. And that took a little bit more time because, of course, we had to get administrative approval. We had to get our administrators on board so that they would have an understanding of what we were trying to do. They did approve the concept, but then, of course, in our university, you know, we have to have faculty to approve the courses, which they did in our college. And it is now as a proposal going through our curriculum committee, where the faculty on our curriculum committee would have to approve the courses that were developed. And so we're very hopeful that will occur and that we will be looking at a new bachelor's degree in this animal studies and intervention program, which would start in the fall of 2023. So we're quite excited about that. And you can see, you know, what we would be looking at is presenting students with knowledge of the human-animal bond, therapeutic skills, animal training skills, business skills, and career-related opportunities for students. So, you know, it's quite a lot of different degree courses. So here's just kind of an example of some of the courses that the students might be taking. And then, of course, you know, we were looking at, well, what kind of a book are we going to use? Because folks that were teaching in that elective course we had said it's really hard to try to find, you know, a book for all of the different kinds of things we're teaching. So we also have a journal club in our college, and Rhonda was very active in organizing everybody to get people together in our journal club. But the faculty then said, well, yeah, we'd really like to do an ebook. Why don't we all write a chapter on our area of expertise? And so that's exactly what we did a few years ago. People got together and they wrote chapters on their particular areas of interest. And now we have this book that we use not only for our elective class, but also what we would be using in this program when we get it started. So what are the benefits that we have of this human-animal bond? Certainly a reduction in blood pressure. If you start reading the research on the benefits of animals, you'll be probably not very surprised at all to know that, you know, when you work with animals, you become much more relaxed, you feel very comfortable. So there is a reduction in blood pressure, improvement in heart rate, reduction in cortisol levels, all kinds of research that's been done on working with all kinds of animals. And, you know, animals certainly help us process difficult emotions. They help us open communication between ourselves and people we're working with, whether it might be a family member, whether a patient and a doctor, medical staff. And so we're really finding that working with animals is really very important. Just some pictures of some of the things we've done on our campus and the animals that we've brought to campus. Picture of my son and his cat. We're certainly animal people. We're dachshund lovers in our house, but always had cats too. And my son has about 3 of them, I think. And so there he is with his. And, you know, look at, no matter how small you are, there's always a pet that you can have. So we're big cat people in our house. And again, there's my grandson with his cats. And, you know, cats can be very friendly, and like he drags them around the house by the tail and they purr. They really seem to love it. So in her research, Rhonda has also found that there's something called zoea, and it was a word used to describe benefits of pet ownership. They're going to tell you more about that a little bit later. But, you know, we said, well, wait, why don't we do some kind of an event on our campus too? And so we really try to make people aware of the benefits of pet ownership. You hear so often about people saying, oh, animals have fleas, they leave a hair all over the place. I have animals in my house and they're dirty. Yes, but, you know, pets increase exercise. If you have a dog, you know, it has to be walked. If you have pets, it can lessen the impact of chronic disease. I love to say cats have been shown to decrease the risk of heart disease. And the presence of a pet has also been shown to provide comfort during cancer treatments. And some of our licensed clinical social workers who work at medical hospitals in Orlando have also said that that's something that they see with their pediatric cancer patients, that when they have the animal therapy before cancer treatments, that the treatments are much more effective, the children are much more relaxed. So again, you'll see some of our animal friends. Pets also promote community, especially true when people live alone, especially older people. Oftentimes you'll see pets that are in nursing homes or people in hospice settings where there's pets. And pets can facilitate smoking cessation. pet owners realize if their pets are suffering from secondhand smoke, they might not want to quit themselves, but they might quit for their pet. So we're finding all kinds of research, again, about being the benefits of a pet owner. Again, just some pictures of Edzoea that we had on our campus back in April. You'll see the students and all of the, all of the animal friends that we had on our campus, and, how much fun we had when we had all of the pets there. And there's Rhonda and the beautiful flyer with all of the different events that we had on our campus, and our therapy dogs with the therapy handlers. I will say too, the wonderful thing about this program is that not only has it strengthened our program as a college and have really did a lot of interdisciplinary work, but also partnerships. The Academy of the Farm is a public school in our county where children have the opportunity to work with the animals in 4-H settings. So we now have partnerships with, many different animal programs across the region where our university is located. And so we feel like it's really helped us to develop our community partnerships as well as benefited our students as well as our university. So we're quite excited about that. So those are just some of the history and kind of the beginnings of how we started this. You'll also see our criminal justice program and our police department and canine officers who came out for the event, and very excited about participating with St. Leo University, our Pasco County Sheriff's Department, and the law enforcement canines that they brought out. So people are quite excited about this program that we have at St. Leo University. So at that, I'm going to turn it now over to both Dr. Waddell and Dr. Wood.
So Nancy, are you going to pull up our slides?
I can do that.
Okay. A lot of what we have in our slides, Susan's talked about, but we can give our perspective of working with the programs and developing the different aspects of animal interventions on our campus. I'll let Nancy get our slides up there. And the way we decided to do it is Nancy and I generally just, both of us talk about each slide as we go, kind of piggyback off of one another.
That's good.
Okay. Yep, I see it.
Great.
So, I mean, you've already heard about the Dean's Forum. That was the brainchild of Susan Kinsella, our former dean, and she had the insight to bring together a number of faculty each year that she was there to kind of develop leadership and collaborations and to help our college create new programming and benefit the whole. And out of that came the Journal Club, and the Journal Club, as she mentioned, sparked lots of different types of research, in particular animal research. It also ended up providing us with a actual journal that we developed called Interdisciplinary Insights, and gave us a platform for writing and publishing and really introducing faculty that may not have had an opportunity to get to know one another, to work together, and to write and publish. We did the animal book, we did a micro-credential, and as she mentioned, the bachelor's program. We've talked about doing a minor program. And then at the end here, we'll talk a little bit about, what is the future of animal interventions and studies. Nancy, you want to jump in? You jump in?
Sure. So as Dr. Kinsella already mentioned, we did start off with that interdisciplinary course, bringing together the faculty. And as she mentioned, that co-facilitation or that co-teaching, which was so effective. Being that people had so many different experiences, whether it was actual horses or with dogs, and to bring as faculty together to really speak towards that, as well as bring in a variety of speakers. So this course was really great for students, and it wasn't elective. So students could be from any discipline. And it was interesting when I co-taught it with faculty, how many business students were in the course. Your thoughts around on that?
Yeah, we had all kinds of students in that course. I mean, you name it, we had it. And we had all kinds of speakers. I think one of the most interesting for me was the gentleman, his name was Michael Hingson. He came with his dog, and he was actually in the World Trade Center when 9/11 took place. And he's blind, and his dog guided him and about, I don't know, I think it was 30 people down the dark stairwell of the World Trade Center out. It was those kinds of speakers, all different kinds, that came to our classes with all kinds of backgrounds, from criminal justice to human services, social work, education, that showed how animals can interact and benefit all different kinds of populations in a real world working setting. So students really got a chance to look at career opportunities from this course.
And we also had a experiential component to the course where students had to go to an actual agency, perhaps a shelter for animals, whatever it might look like for them, maybe a therapy service organization, and spend some time with, whether it was be the owner or staff, and really get to know what that agency did in terms of working with animals and the public. So that was a great, I think, component of an assignment that students appreciated. We did end up developing a book for this course because the original book, as wonderful as it was, we really needed something more of a book that provided more of a foundational knowledge, because again, our students really came in with no knowledge on the topic of animal studies. And so, as was mentioned, we got a lot of our faculty together who had that experience with animals and write those chapters, again, just to give that foundational information.
And the other good thing about the book is that it really was tailored specifically to our course, what the needs were, the chapters that we wanted to focus in on. And it really served us because it was an ebook. So students were, the original book that we had chosen was so heavy, so big, so expensive that it was really prohibitive for students to have that book. So that generated our interest in developing this ebook, and it's been really popular. And from there, we've gone on to do other ebooks, which have been useful in different courses as well. So that was all part of the journal club, and all of us working together and kind of growing together and figuring out what worked best for what our needs were and our students.
Then we parlayed into the micro-credential, which is something that perhaps some of you may have heard of. And it kind of gives you, it's not a course per se that gives you credit like college credit, but it will give you the skills you need. And the credit that you get would be actually a badge. And so we took, again, the information that we've been working with this course and made it into like smaller bite sizes, if that's maybe a good way to equate it. So the micro-credential, our course is called the Animal Interventions Building Canine Good Citizens.
And the micro-credential really is useful for people who are working out in the world with animals, such as the ASPCA or the Humane Society or some the local animal services program that want to add credibility to their credentials. And this is one way they can do that.
And what's great about this course, or this micro-credential course, is that you go in, the content is fully online, all the materials are available through the links online, and the way we set it up is you have 30 days to get the content completed, and it's not so much a grade, as I mentioned, like a course grade, like when you were in college, but more so there's an assessment at the end of each module, and then whether or not you pass that assessment. If not, we'd work with you and to work towards, again, that you end up with the skills that you've set out to obtain by taking this course. And what's great about this specific micro-credential, the way it's set up, is that it builds upon the knowledge of, as we've been talking about, of animal interventions And there's even a component in there about businesses. As I mentioned, we've gotten a lot of students that want to start their own agency. And so that kind of gives that foundational information to start their own business, as well as getting that Canine Good Citizens certification.
So if you're interested in getting your dog certified to be a therapy dog, you need to go through Canine Good Citizen training and have them prove that they are able to behave themselves and to conduct themselves in challenging situations that they might encounter in a therapeutic setting. So they have to learn to sit, stay, leave it. So let's say there's food or there's medicine that's dropped on the floor. They're not going to go diving at it like my pit bull would right now. So they have to learn to be good citizens and behave themselves. And then they get a little certificate, and they get a little tag that goes on their collar, and it says that they are ready to go for therapy training.
And again, there's just more information about the micro-credential. And this is something that maybe for those that are faculty yourself, if that's something you want to provide at your school, something to think about in terms of offering those skills that people are looking to have, again, to enhance perhaps their own personal skill sets or perhaps professionally that they could use in the workplace.
So we decided, with the guidance of our dean, Kinsella, to move into the world of program development and start a BA program. So Nancy and I worked on developing courses and going through the entire process, as was mentioned before, of developing the program and getting it through the administration and leadership and having them acknowledge that this was a good program to develop. We particularly looked at Hanover and Burning Glass and some of the other universities around the United States and internationally that were doing this kind of work. And what we wanted was something that was practical, that really was career developing. So we developed a unique program, we think, because not only do they get the core information about animal studies and intervention, as you saw that list of classes, they also get to pick a concentration from a different degree program. So criminal justice, human services, social work, education, business, an area that they may be particularly interested in doing their animal work with and in the future in their real life career. And so they will not only get the animal studies background, they'll get that training as well. And then if they decide they want to go for a master's degree, they will have those concentration of courses already under their belt, and they'll be able to get into a program, say, let's pretend it's social work. They'll have those foundation courses ready to go. So they can pick, it's basically picking two careers. I want to work with animals, but I want to work in this setting. I want to be in human services, or I want to be in social work, or I want to be in education or criminal justice or business. So we thought it was unique. We only saw one other university that was doing it like that. And we thought, you know, we wanted to give them a bachelor's degree that was really applicable to moving on up into a master's level program. And that was the thinking behind our BA program.
Right. And I think that's the part that has been great about developing this program, is letting knowing that there's students that are looking to do this. I mean, students have certainly reached out to us after taking our, that elective we've been talking about earlier, saying, well, what else can I do? What other courses can I take? Because this is certainly a field that's opening up more than we perhaps realize. And as we mentioned, you can really take working with animals, especially if that's something that you have a passion for, in a variety of arenas. And so any kind of programming like this can only benefit someone to take, again, that passion and then make it part of your career choice.
So we wanted to give you just a little bit of history in case you don't have any background knowledge of animal-assisted therapy or work with animals out in the career world. animals were first really utilized as animal-assisted therapists during World War I. Although, if you go back in the far back history, Florence Nightingale actually walked around on the field with a little owl, a bird, an owl in her pocket. And she would bring it out and she would use this bird that was very tame to distract wounded soldiers from their pain and to bring them a little light and a little love while they were dealing with their war injuries. So that was sort of the background, was canines helping soldiers and also bringing comfort to them. The mid 20th century, we started seeing animals being utilized much more for people who were suffering with illnesses or disabilities. And today there's a wide variety of different kinds of animals that serve people, from autism. There are therapeutic riding programs, as Dr. Kinsella mentioned. There are seeing eye dogs. There are dogs for the deaf. There are monkeys that help people with mobility, opening things, bringing things to them, helping to help people who have mobility problems. Dogs that help with PTSD. Just a wide variety of capabilities that animals of all different types help us make our lives better. And if you know, when you help give, you feel better. So most of these animals have a natural tendency to want to do this work. Not every dog, not every horse, not every animal is a therapy animal or a service animal. They have to be specifically trained and they have to be interested. And I have 8 dogs. I had one therapy animal and he's not with us anymore. I'm still looking for my therapy dog. So, you know, people say, oh, I'm going to get a dog and I'm going to go out and do therapy with them. Well, it's kind of like saying, I'm going to get a kid and they're going to do therapy when they grow up. It doesn't always happen like that, right? They might have something else in mind. So let's see, 1977, Dogs for the Deaf was founded by Roy Cabot, and animals are used today as service animals, therapy, emotional support, and we'll get into that a little bit. Nancy, you want to add anything to that?
No, you covered it well.
Okay. I'll let you go with this one.
So again, as Dr. Wardell was alluding to, you know, it should be a one-way street, right? As much as we have all these opportunities to work with animals, we have to remember the animal. As she shared, just because you have an animal and you want to do therapy work doesn't mean the animal wants to do that kind of work as well. So it's important that, you know, you think about, if that's something you want to do, that is the animal have the skills, as more so the temperament and the willingness to be a therapy animal. Because even though there's great opportunities, as we talked about, you know, reducing the anxiety, social contact is improved, quality of life, all these different things is great. But again, we just want to make sure that, what about the animal? Are they be able to do all these things when you work with them in that therapeutic setting? Or if there's training involved where they work directly with who their owner might be. Anything you want to add, Rhonda?
I would just say that that's great. Also, you have to realize that animals have feelings too, and there may be times when animals are overextended and they want to stop doing therapy. So that's something you have to be in tune with. That's why usually an animal's not just a therapy animal for anyone to walk around with and to work with. They have a handler that understands their needs and can read them and communicate with them so that they know when an animal doesn't want to do something or they're tired and they want to go. My therapy dog would specifically avoid in, say, a nursing home or a hospital certain rooms. He just wouldn't go in there. So, you know, I'd have to respect that, and I would usually try to make some kind of kind excuse for it, like I think he's got to go out and go to the restroom or something, because you have to realize that they have feelings too, and there may be some specific reason that that animal is sensing something that you shouldn't question, and understand them as well.
So there's various tasks for psychiatric service animals, such as we've been talking about, the medical crisis, having assistance for that, treatment-related assistance, certainly that coping with the emotional overload, as well as there's different security enhancement tasks that they can be involved with, and certainly that crisis intervention piece for when someone's experiencing trauma.
And one thing that I'll add to that is that a service animal is an animal that is trained to take care of a particular individual's needs. So unlike a therapy animal, which we'll talk about, but a service animal might be trained to help someone with mobility. So if they're unstable, they might be a larger animal that the person can use to lift themselves up and just get stabilized and walk. It might be someone who has PTSD, that has fear issues, and this animal will help put a barrier up if they're feeling overwhelmed or threatened and protect them. So service animal, and of course the ones we think of is the dogs for the blind or dogs for the deaf, but there are all kinds of service animals, but they're designed to work, or trained particularly to work with that individual. That is that individual's animals. So they might be their eyes or ears or protection.
And then you have the emotional support animals, which are different from service, or even comfort animals that we sometimes are companion animals that you hear of. And certainly, again, they're just adding that benefit. That's something we experience just in your own lives with your pets.
So, I mean, one of the things about that has changed since I've been at St. Leo is the fact that we are allowed now, students are allowed to have emotional support animals or companion animals on campus. There was a time when no animals were allowed on campus, but now, if you have a medical doctor or social worker or therapist saying that you need this pet and will have the documentation for it, you can have a companion animal in class or on campus. And we've seen lots of them. Our director of student services has talked about how incredibly large a number of animals are on our campus. So, and if I mean, most people in America have some kind of a pet, even if it's a fish. We just have a love for animals. So again, the emotional support animal is for that individual. They're not for you and me. They are designed to bring comfort and support to the person that is their owner.
And then we mentioned about the service animals. Again, certain breeds are more apt to be better service animals. They really, again, there's some training certainly involved. And as we mentioned, that animal is in service to the companion that they're there to serve that individual. So again, they're not there to help other people. In fact, they often wear the vest, and they shouldn't be touched by public coming up to them and wanting to get to know the animal. It's best that that animal is left alone, because again, they're there to service the human being that they're with.
So they're really working. I mean, they're there to work and serve for that person. I will say this, that we all love animals, and when we see them, we want to touch them, we want to interact with them, but a service animal is special trained. And unless the owner, and I will say, like Michael Hingston, who came from the 9/11 experience, he took his service dog's vest off and let him go free in the classroom, because he said, when he's got his vest on, he's working, and he'll lay down right here beside me and he will do what I need to do. He knows what I need. We communicate. But when I take that vest off, he's just a goofy lab running around playing and having fun. So they're doing a job just like you and I. We go to work, we put on our professional performance, and when we get home, we're our goofy little selves that we are. So animals are the same way.
And then, as we've been talking about as well, that therapy dogs are actually doing therapy work. They're also working as well. Rhonda, your thoughts on this topic?
Well, so the therapy dog is working, but they are working for other people. They are bringing therapeutic intervention to children, say in a courtroom setting or a crisis intervention setting. Like you've heard of the mass shootings, they bring in the dogs to help comfort those victims and their family members. They're doing a therapeutic job and they're serving others. They're not particularly serving their owner. So they are extended out. So this dog needs to be able to be lovable and caring and sensitive to other people's needs and other dogs, which sometimes you get a dog that just loves people, but they're not wild about other dogs, and they're protective of and defensive. So a therapy dog is a unique animal. It has to love people. It has to be okay with other animals, and it wants to serve other people and be loving and caring. And they generally do understand situations. My therapy dog that I was in a reading program with some challenging middle schoolers that were having problems with reading. We'd do a round robin reading activity, and he would go and lay down in the middle of the room. And I'd think, why am I doing this? He's not doing anything. After he met everybody, he'd just go lay down. But one day, two of the kids were kind of goofing around and acting up in the back of the room. Andy got right up, went over, put his head in his lap of the guy that started it, and the guy got distracted and calmed down. And when they calmed down, Andy went and laid back down and was just like a rug in the room. And I was like, oh, that's what you do. So they know a lot more than what we know sometimes. Questions, thoughts? Comments? Anybody got a therapy dog or a service dog you'd like to share with us?
I have a quick question. Can you hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
My name is Joe Jeffries. I'm a psychology student at Central Methodist University in Missouri, getting ready to go get my master's in social work and become an LCSW. I currently work at a behavioral crisis center as a peer support specialist. So it'll benefit me now and also in my future career. I've got a lot of clients that will come in and they'll say, they'll express that they could benefit from having a service animal, or that they have an animal that they would like to become a service animal. What recommendations do you have at a broad level that I could provide to those clients to kind of expectation set with them and also get them in connection with resources to benefit them?
Nancy, do you want to go first?
Well, the one website I think that we always talk about, which is I can find the link and put it in. That one that we always talk about. Let me unshare my screen here.
Are you talking about Elizabeth Strand?
Yeah, I was thinking that one.
Okay. Elizabeth Strand is the voice of veterinary social work. And I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but she, for her dissertation, decided to create the whole field of veterinary social work. And I don't know how long ago that was. I would say at least 10 years, maybe 15 now, Nancy. But she's at the University of Tennessee, and she's developed a whole program, a whole world of veterinary social work. And you can go through her program. We've had at least one of our faculty has gone up there and was certified. You can be certified as a veterinary social worker. And she goes through and teaches you all that you need to know about setting up a psychiatric or psychology practice. And she teaches you all about therapy dogs and crisis intervention in different settings. You can Google her on YouTube and watch some of her videos and learn about veterinary social work. But she's the guru of the field. And that's probably where I would start. And then you'll be led into different pathways from there. But she's the lady with the original work in this field.
The other thing, there's the Human Animal Intervention Society. That's something to look into as well. There's quite a bit of publications on that. So if you just type in human animal interventions, all kinds of resources will come up, whether it's things you perhaps can share with clients or potential clients, or just yourself, just trying to get that information on that human animal interaction therapeutic setting. So there's quite a bit out there, and I don't want to run out of time. Dr. Rumpf,
I think we're fine. I'm not sure. I know that there's also an Institute for Human Animal Connection in the Graduate School of Social Work at the University of Denver. So you probably would even find some information there. Charles, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. I have a question. I noticed you said that there are no standards for service animal training. Now, I found out today, I'm just visiting in Texas, a person who trained her own service dog got certified by the state, and now airlines will fly them for free. If there are no standards, she's good, but if there are no standards and they can fly for free, there's some potential for considerable shenanigans, I would think. Is there any kind of accreditation or approval body?
There are different organizations. There's at least 3 that I know of that are therapy organizations that have standards, that have paperwork and forms that you fill out, and you have to get your dog or your animal through a vet and get them checked out. They get their temperament tested. So they do different things, but there's no specific, like, licensed clinical social worker. You don't go to the Florida board and take a test and you're proven get a credential. It's really sort of varied, but there are like 3 that I know of that are pretty credible, but there's no standardized is what I'm probably getting at. There's no like, this is it. And, you know, if you don't have this, then you're not a therapy dog. You can get into these different organizations. You get insurance. You get $100,000 worth of insurance when you get all of the hoops met for your dog. That gives you the credibility. That's what they ask for when you are going in transportation or hotels or that kind of thing. Now, a service dog is different from a therapy dog too. And Nancy does a talk in the class about the legalities of different animals, but essentially the short of it is service dogs are doing a service. They can go almost anywhere, unless like you're going into surgery. They can't go in there unless they've been trained to be a surgeon, and I don't know any that have, but they can go almost anywhere, whereas a therapy dog cannot. They are doing a job that's specific, say like going into the reading program or going to a crisis intervention setting, and they're okay to go to those, but they can't go into a restaurant or any other place, you know, that they just want to be with their owner. They have to have a job planned and accept it to do it. I don't know if it helps you some.
Do different states have different licensure and things like that, or is it kind of national? As much as it is.
What I know of, it's national. These are national organizations. The one that my dog was in is called International Therapy Dog, ITD or something, International Therapy Dog. But there are like 3 or 4 different organizations that, and you'll see kind of clubs of people like that belong to these organizations. They may go out in groups. So you'll have the international therapy dog group, and then you'll have a different group. We have a student that's in the MSW program that's getting ready to graduate that has a mini horse that we saw in one of the pictures, and she's going into hospitals and hospice and all kinds of medical settings with this horse. And this horse, of course, has been through different kinds of organizations that certify that it's a healthy, well-behaved animal.
Mhm.
Which is also why we started the micro-credential for the Canine Good Citizenship, so people would have that certification if they wanted to take their pet into a nursing home or a medical facility. But Rhonda makes a really good point between the service and therapy, because as you heard her say, we have a lot of students at St. Leo that bring their emotional support pet, and they want to bring their pets to class, and they've requested that. I've been in Nancy and Rhonda's class before, and the students will always ask me, when I was the dean, why can't we bring our pets to class? Well, if it's not a certified service animal, you can bring it into your residence hall, but you can't bring it to the class unless it's a certified service animal.
You're muted.
Okay. Any other questions people
You're
have?
muted.
I think
Gordon.
Gordon's trying to say something. He's muted though.
Gordon, I think you're muted.
He,
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Certainly, I think St. Leo is to be very much commended for such an outstanding program that is so innovative. I wondered, I know this would be complex and it would depend on a lot, but what are some typical things that graduates do, based on your experience of different things? That may be too broad to answer, but just some indications of typical things students do once they graduate from your program.
Graduate, Ron, did you want to tell them you had a social work student? I know that was a position.
It really depends on their passion and what their interest is. And anywhere where animals are used in a career setting, if they have this degree, it's going to bring them credibility. So they may be working for animal services, or they may be working in a vet program, or they may be a social worker in a veterinary hospital doing counseling with different, the families and the veterinarians. They may be a criminal justice person on a horse doing equine, riding around on a horse, or they may be canine. I just heard a whole talk on the radio driving home about canines in Florida and who gets bit more than others, and in patrolling. There's all kinds of settings. Education has behavioral animals to calm students down. They have science animals in the room with little rabbits and little pocket animals. They have the 4-H club that we bring kids. So almost any setting that you can find passion to work with, if you're me, you're going to find a way to get an animal in there.
Rhonda, what about the student you had that was at the Emerald Farm, one that did the internship there?
We've had several students go through an equine therapy. It's called Emerald Therapeutic Riding Program that works with different veterans and autistic kids and disabled kids. And there's different types of riding techniques that are done for different populations. And they come in and talk in our class, and we go out on field trips with them. We can go to the animal services program, talk about hoarders, and talk about, neglected and abused and fighting, all that kind of stuff from that protective services perspective. Just about any kind of area that you can think of in our field, you can find a place to bring animals, into that workforce.
And
I
she was,
know one of the things you mentioned earlier was the benefits of kids owning pets, that some of the research indicates that. Now, there can be different levels of kids having pets. I mean, kids could get more involved in feeding the pet or taking the pet out on field trips, or in some cases, pets follow kids to school even and, wait for them. I mean, there's so many variations out there. But are there any things you might say about any research on the benefits of kids having pets, or anything that might be indicated that might help a parent select a better pet for their kid or anything like that? Or
Gotta get
grandkid?
into that micro credential, Gordon. But yes, there's a lot that's being said about, the benefits of children having a pet, because like Nancy mentioned, some people are like, oh, I don't want the mess in my house. I'm going to end up being the one that does all the work, But in reality, I grew up on a farm. I know Nancy did. I know that Dr. Kinsella also was in a program at the university with animals. When you are expected to take care of an animal and it's required for their living purposes, I milked a cow before I went to school. And so, morning and night, you did that job and you were expected to do it, and the animal needed you to take care of them. And so I think what you learn is empathy and compassion and responsibility. And, it takes work. It takes work for the parent to make a child do the things they need to do. But that's how we become better people, is when we have expectations put on us, and you have an animal that's relying on you to take care of them and do a good job.
Well taken point.
Yeah, the Human Animal Bond Research Institute has a lot on that. So definitely worth checking that out on the child development piece, as you mentioned. And in fact, I noticed domestic shelters have increased the number of housing available that includes pets. Because oftentimes perhaps, the spouse being abused will not leave the home, knowing that the family dog cannot come with them. And so there's been quite an expansion and efforts in providing housing that enables a whole family to move in with their pet when there's a domestic violence situation, for the reasons you just shared of those connections, because the family pet is the family member.
I was at the University of Florida, and we developed, along with the vet school, a family health program. We developed a clinic that took care of low income and disabled people's pets and provided them with care and simple surgeries like spays and neuters, cherry eyes, those kinds of things. People love their animals, and they will take care of their animal before they take care of themselves in some circumstances. Same thing with like the hurricanes. If you watched any of that, people weren't going to leave their animals, or they're clinging to them and walking through water. We love our animals, and homeless people love their animals. Poor people love their animals. And all of us do. And so we have to help take care of them, and they do take care of us. They give back to us tremendously.
You often see that with some of our older seniors. They'll buy food for their animals before they buy it for themselves. And so there's always that care. I just came across here, Crossroads Hospice Charitable Foundation in 2015, the study that they did said they were allowing their patients to choose an animal that best fit their personality, because they felt that was really the best for them in terms of their, the pet therapy that they needed for their level of comfort. And they said, although dogs were chosen the most, there were other animals like pigs, rabbits, cats, horses, and birds that were also used in pet therapy. So it doesn't just have to be one particular type of animal. It could be a variety.
Yeah, and hospice organizations are recognizing that more. So even at the very end of life stage where they're in a facility, hospice organizations are allowing family members to bring their ill family, their pet, in to see the terminally ill patient. So it's really up to each industry and their policies, and what they're willing to compromise and adjust to.
I see people put some great links in the chat too, so if you haven't had a chance to look at the chat, do. Any other questions?
The pound has struck.
We thank you all for coming and listening and staying and participating. And it seems like everybody's as excited about their animals and their pets and the work that the research is showing us that has been done and will continue to be done. And so we hope that this has been interesting for you and that you somehow go back to your universities and talk to other people and see if this is something that you can replicate. You can always get in touch with us at St. Leo University. We'd be happy to answer any other questions you have. And Rhonda and Nancy are the experts, and they're the ones actually designed and are working in the program now. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer any other questions that you have.